This is a Makita GD0600 die grinder. Now it's a corded die grinder, 400 watts, it's got a 1/4 inch collet. It's actually very heavy. I wasn't expecting it to be as heavy as this. It's a very solid machine. Now I've bought this for shaping wood, and I'll also be using it for the odd bit of metal work that I do as well. So I've bought various bits to allow me to do those tasks, wood and metal, and I'll demonstrate them a little bit further on in the video. But my first impressions of this is it is a really solid machine, and I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on it and seeing just what it's capable of. A quick look at the packaging. And inside the box we've got the die grinder, a set of instructions and 2 spanners for changing the bits in the collet. This is a UK version of the die grinder. It's got a 400 watt motor, runs at 1.8 amps, has got a no load speed of 25,000 RPM. And the maximum diameter wheel that you can put on the die grinder is 38 millimeters. The first thing that I thought when I picked this up is how solid it is. It's very heavy, and I thought that this was all plastic, but underneath there, as you can see, it's actually metal casing. So when you see the more expensive versions of these die grinders from Makita, they don't have this rubber cover, and I think this rubber cover is a really nice addition to it. So it feels really solid. Very smooth and it's very quiet. I've bought several bits for it. I've bought some Kutzall bits for woodwork, and I've also bought some tungsten carbide bits for metalwork. And as I go through the video, I'll demonstrate some of the uses that this thing has, and hopefully give you an idea of how good it is and why maybe you should get one for your workshop. So I just want to show you some of the safety features. Now this trigger runs along half the length of the die grinder, as you can see. Now you cannot activate the trigger unless you pull this little lever back. So if you pull that lever back and press the handle down, then the die grinder will run. There's a button on the back that allows you to keep the motor running constantly. So I'll demonstrate that now. I'll turn the die grinder on and I'll press in the button. Now as you can see, it's running, and in order to stop it from running, you just press the button and it stops. That gives you a little bit more versatility for using the tool, because it means that you can actually keep it running, use both your hands without worrying about pressing on the lever to access more difficult to reach situations or things that are a little bit more tricky. So the reason that I've purchased this die grinder is for carving. Now I've actually dabbled with carving over the years, and this Easter Island head was actually carved in the traditional way with a mallet and chisels and 1 or 2 other tools. I've decided that I want to actually try chainsaw carving, so I've purchased a chainsaw to do that, and this is my first attempt. Now this was made out of oak, and it was an old log that I've had lying around for a long time. I actually recovered it from a bank at the side of the house, and it had been outside for years. I roughed it out with the chainsaw, and I finished it with a Dremel and 1 or 2 other rotary tools, and they just really went up to the task. They were too slow, a little bit too delicate really, so I decided that I needed a die grinder. Now as you can see, I've purchased several bits. These 2 are Kutzall Extreem bits with a 1/4 inch shank, and these are really good at removing wood really quickly. These 5 bits here are a set of carbide bits that are actually more designed towards metalwork, but you can use them for woodwork as well, and other materials like plastic and aluminium. I'm expecting these 2 Kutzall tools to remove wood very rapidly, and these to be not quite as effective, but we'll see what it's like. Okay, so this is the bit that I'm going to actually put in the tool. So I've got my PPE on, I've got a dust mask and a pair of safety glasses. So this is another piece of oak. So this is just a quick example of something you can knock up really quickly with one of these. But it just goes to show that with something like this, you can actually turn something that's quite appealing out really quickly. So that is really impressive. This is solid oak and it's just whipping that off really quickly. For cleaning up the edge, it's very, very good. I'm impressed with that. So I'll put one of the other carbide bits in now and we'll see what this is like. So as you can see, that's removing stock rapidly, and I thought that this would clog up, but it's not clogging up at all. I'm very impressed with that. Now these are considerably cheaper than the Kutzall bits. I think I paid something like £20 for the 5, which is not bad at all when you think about it. And these ones, remember, cut metal as well. I know that they're pretty poor, but at the same time I haven't used this thing before, and it just shows you that with a bit of practice I think you can do an awful lot of really nice things with one of these die grinders. And I'm really impressed with the way that this machine works, how it feels, how it is to use, the power it's got. It all seems to be up to par and I'm very impressed with it. So what I'm going to do now is we'll try it on some metal and see what it's like when it's actually working with metal. Now, as well as carving on wood, I will say that this has got all sorts of other uses as well. If you've got holes that need elongating, that type of thing, this thing could prove useful in many ways, not just decorative, but also in very practical ways as well. So I've swapped bits now and put this one on. That is really impressive. It's actually whipping that off, but you must wear safety glasses when you're working with metal, because I can feel little bits of metal hitting my face as I'm using the grinder. So you need to protect your eyes. So this is a piece of old mild steel that was actually buried in the ground. So I think that speaks for itself. That's removing an awful lot of metal very quickly, and if I show you the bit, look, there's absolutely no wear on that whatsoever. So you're going to get a lot of use out of these carbide bits, and they'll actually prove very useful in a lot of applications. The Makita GD0600, I think it is a smashing piece of kit. It is basically a Dremel on steroids, which is exactly what I wanted, because I used a Dremel on this and it was just not powerful enough, and it didn't have a long enough reach. There were several issues trying to sort this out, and I know that's not very good, but I think it would have been quite a bit better if I'd have been using this when I made it. So as far as this is concerned, you know, a paw print, 5 minutes, and it's a decorative little thing. I know it's not much to look at, but it does give you an idea of what these things are capable of. I think it's very well made. It's a solid piece of kit, and it's got oodles of power. You could see how well it was driving into this oak. When it comes to metal work, I was impressed with how quickly it dealt with the mild steel. You can see with that rebar it was a little bit harder, I think, than the mild steel, but you can see that the bits actually had no wear on them at all after I'd actually done a fair bit of work on the metal. So for metal work I can see all sorts of uses as well, and I do occasionally dabble in a little bit of metal work. So do I like it? Yes, I think it's a smashing piece of kit. I'm really glad I bought it. I hope you guys have found this review useful, and I think it will be welcome in my workshop, and it's something I'll go to on a regular basis. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you for watching, and please take care.